Hi, welcome. I'm Senior Cadet Inspector Fiona Ng, and today we are going to cover more on presentation skills. Do have your cadet manual ready to take down notes. The design of the slide should be simple and not too distracting as shown in this slide. For outlines of your presentation, you need to make the first and second slide the outline. It should follow the order you are going to present it, and the outline should only contain the main points. You could see the previous slide as an example. To have a good slide structure, you need to put it in point forms, about 4 to 5 points per slide, and avoid wordiness. You should use keywords and phrases only, and explain more yourself if needed, and use 1 minute for 1 to 2 slides. This slide shows a good example for slide structure. This slide shows a bad slide structure where there are too many words, making it difficult for readers to read and they may lose interest. Showing one point at a time is good as it helps the audience concentrate on the point you are talking about. It prevents audience from reading ahead and keep your presentation in focus. It is bad to use animations that are too distracting and animations that are overboard as it will distract your audience from listening to you. You need to be consistent with the amount and the type of animation you use. A good font to use in your presentation is font size that are size 18, and it's good to use different font sizes for your main point and subpoints. For font types, use standard fonts as it is easier for your audience to read. This slide shows the bad example of font and font sizes that are used. You will find yourself squinting to read the first line. Too much capital and bold will be unnecessary. Too fanciful fonts will be hard to read and focus on. Your slide should have good color contrast between the words and the background. Use color to emphasize main points. This slide shows the font color that does not contrast sharply with the background, causing it hard to read, and having different colors is distracting and annoying. You should not use a different color for every different point, and trying to be too creative may not be always good, as you can see from the points in this slides. If you need to choose a background, this slide background is good as it is attractive yet simple and it is light. You should also be consistent with the background of your slide throughout your presentation. This slide shows a bad slide background where it is too distracting and hard to read the points and is not consistent with other slides. In addition, when you are preparing for your presentation, you do not necessarily need to use just words. You can use data-driven charts, concept diagrams, and graphs that aid you in your presentation, and at times it may even help you better represent what you are trying to explain. It is good to use visual aids as mentioned above, but the presenter needs to keep in mind the focus of the presentation should still be on him. It is also good practice to have visual aids on the left of the speaker. Upon completion of the slide, you will need to do a spelling and grammar check. In this slide, how many mistakes can you spot? You will need to check spelling mistakes, any repeated words, grammatical errors. If possible, ask someone else to vet your work. For your conclusion slide, use an effective and strong closing so that your audience are more likely to remember. You can use a conclusion slide to summarize your main points and suggest further avenues of research. At the end of your presentation, you should have a short question and answer to create interaction with the audience, and then clear any doubts from there. You should also have a visual aid for question and answer session, and avoid ending a presentation abruptly. In addition, the question and answer session is an opportunity to make a point, and it is where most presentations are lost or won here, as this is the time when assessors or judges question the presenter and judge whether he is knowledgeable and confident about what he is presenting. Having questions from audience is a good sign that shows that your audience is listening and is interested in your presentation. However, if there are too many questions, it may mean that your presentation is not in-depth. The general rule when answering a question is to be polite and do not argue. When answering, you must look at the questionnaire, remain neutral, be attentive, and listen to the whole question. If needed, pause and think before you respond, and move on to others once you have addressed the questioner. This slide shows a few tips you can take note of when dealing with a question and answer session. However, in certain cases where you are unable to come up with an answer, you can use this phrase. I can't answer that question because of certain reason, but I can tell you the information regarding your question. After saying that, you will quickly need to do some research and get back to the person to clarify any doubts. But do not use this frequently, as it will show that you are always unprepared and unprofessional. In short, for your presentation, it has to be readable, simple, and clear to ensure that both you and your audience will have an easier time during the presentation. Now, we'll move on to our MPCC corporate identity, where we will cover more of the use of the MPCC logo in your presentations or other uses. As you all would have seen by now, this is the MPCC logo. A brief history on our logo. There were a few logos being used previously for self-identification, including the police crest, which was used in earlier years. However, in 1926, there was an idea to differentiate ourselves, and the MPCC logo was first molded. It went through several changes and reviews before the introduction of the current MPCC logo in 2006. The logo is the primary corporate logo of the core and the cornerstones of its identity. The MPCC logo should be used in corporate materials, productions, and properties produced by MPCC. This slide shows the elements of the MPCC logo. Please fill in the blanks in your cadet manual. Take note that white must be used for stars, crescent, moon, rail of paddy shafts, and the text in the scroll. The two pictures at the bottom of the slide shows an example of it being white, regardless the background. This slide shows the name of the spot color that should be used for the different parts of the logo. In cases of a black and white, everything should be black and white except the stars, crescent moon, rail of paddy shafts, and the text in the scroll. There are cases where reverse white are used, and it should be followed as according to the table shown in this slide. This slide shows a few examples of improper use of the MPCC logo. There should be no modifications made to the logo to make it look fancier. As for the use of colors, it should be like the third logo in the slide and should not be of poor contrasting background color and having the wrong colors. When using the logo, it should follow the size of 9.4 mm by 11 mm, and if you want to increase the size, you should increase it proportionately. In addition, there should be an exclusive zone around the logo whereby nothing should be in it. As mentioned in the previous slide, the exclusive zone should have nothing inside. This slide shows you an example of the correct and incorrect ways of using the logo. Now, we'll move on to the MPCC name logo. The name logo came into common usage in the late 1990s. It is based on a stylized version of letters NPCC, and its contemporary and fluid design signifies vitality, creativity, and enterprising spirit of the youths. When using the name logo, you should not disjoint, move, or disproportionately resize it as shown in this slide. For the usage of the organization name, National Police Cadet Corps, fonts Helvetica or Arial should be used, and it can be displayed as a straight line or using centralized or left justified stacked position, as shown in the table on the slide. When placing your logos on cover pages, posters, or other publications, the logo should be side by side with the logo with higher priority to be on the left. The slide shows an example on the usage of 30 Secondary School logo and MPCC logo in a proposal. The logos can be separated by text when used for banners, pamphlets, and other publications. In summary, preparing a proper presentation is crucial to your presentation, as not only does it shows that you are prepared, it also aids you in your presentation and your audience will be able to follow you better. Keep in mind of the points covered earlier when doing up slides and how to end your presentation smoothly. As for the MPCC logo and guideline mentioned in this lecture, it should be enforced and followed to ensure uniformity in all NPCC corporate materials. We've come to the end of the Presentation Skills 2 lecture. We hope you have gained more insights on how to do up a presentation slide and how to use logos properly. Should you have any questions pertaining to this lecture, feel free to approach any of your cadet inspectors. Thank you.